Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble Dandavat Pranam to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Bhagavatam, and following the instructions and guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we are praying to Srimati Radharani. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, if we cannot understand Srimati Radharani through Bhagavatam, then we've wasted our time. So we're praying to Srimati Radharani. Yadi seva vanchitasya ma yasya kripaya vayam labema sarvam prapnuma prayojanam Damni Shri Bhagavat Pade Krishna Sambandhi Sarvam Cha Yadi Na Jani Mahe Tutam Ashtadashasu Sahasreshu Shloka Nam Bhagavat Oktishu Radharanimna Vindamatada Nishphalam Bhagavat Adhyayanam Radhikaya Kripam Vina Yartasyat sarva parishrama. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham, and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Radharani within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Srimati Radharani, all our efforts are in vain. Haribol. So we are continuing our reading from Canto 4, text 20, chapter 28. Let's see. Canto 4 is the creation of the fourth order, and chapter 28, Purañjana becomes a woman in his next life. Text 27. Ananta pare tamasi magno nashta smriti sama shasvatir anubhuyartim pramada shanga dushita. Due to his contaminated association with women, a living entity like King Purañjana eternally suffers all the pangs of material existence and remains in the dark region of material life, bereft of all remembrance for many, many years. Purport. This is a description of material existence. Material existence is experienced when one becomes attached to a woman and forgets his real identity as the eternal servant of Krishna, Nashta Smriti. In this way, in one body after another, the living entity perpetually suffers the threefold miseries of material existence. To save human civilization from the darkness of ignorance, this movement was started. The main purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement is to enlighten the forgetful living entity and remind him of his original Krishna consciousness. In this way, the living entity can be saved from the catastrophe of ignorance as well as bodily transmigration. As Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur has sung, Anadi Karama Phale Padi Bhavar Navajale Tari Barina Deki Upaya Evishaya Halahale Diva Nishihi Ajvale Manakabu Shuka Nahi Paya. Because of my past fruitive activities, I have now fallen into an ocean of nescience. I cannot find any means to get out of this great ocean, which is indeed like an ocean of poison. We are trying to be happy through sense enjoyment, but actually that so-called enjoyment is like food that is too hot and causes burning in the heart. I feel a burning sensation constantly day and night, and thus my mind cannot find satisfaction. Material existence is always full of anxiety. People are always trying to find many ways to mitigate anxiety. But because they are not guided by a real leader, they try to forget material anxiety through drink and sex indulgence. Foolish people do not know that by attempting to escape anxiety by drink and sex, they simply increase their duration of material life. It is not possible to escape material anxiety in this way. The word pramada shanga dushita indicates that apart from all other contamination, if one simply remains attached to a woman, that single contamination will be sufficient to prolong one's miserable material existence. Consequently, in Vedic civilization, one is trained from the beginning to give up attachment for women. The first stage of life is brahmachari, the second stage is grihastha, the third stage is vanaprastha, and the fourth stage is sannyas. All these stages are devised to enable one to detach himself from the association of women. Text 28. Tam eva manasagrinan babhuva pramadho datam anantaram vidarbhasya rajasam hasya veshmani. King Purañjana gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently in his next life he became very beautiful and well situated as a woman. He took his next birth as the daughter of King Vidarbha in the very house of the king. Purport. Since King Purañjana thought of his wife at the time of death, he attained the body of a woman in his next birth. This verifies the following verse in Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadha tad bhava bhavita. Whatever stage of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. When a living entity is accustomed to think of a particular subject matter or become absorbed in a certain type of thought, he will think of that subject at the time of death. At the time of death, one will think of the subject that has occupied his life while he was awake, lightly sleeping or dreaming, or while he was deeply sleeping. After falling from the association of the Supreme Lord, the living entity thus transmigrates from one bodily form to another according to nature's course, until he finally attains the human form. If he is absorbed in material thoughts and ignorant of spiritual life, and if he does not take shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, who solves all questions of birth and death, he will become a woman in the next life, especially if he thinks of his wife. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.31.1, Karmana Daiva Netrena, a living entity acts piously and impiously, and sometimes in both ways. All actions are taken into account, and the living entity is offered a new body by his superiors. Although King Purañjana was overly attached to his wife, he nonetheless performed many pious, fruitive activities. Consequently, although he took the form of a woman, he was given a chance to be the daughter of a powerful king. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6.41, Prapya punya kritam lokan ushtva shasvati samaha suchinam shri matam gehe yoga brashto bijayate. The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. If a person falls from the path of bhakti yoga, God realization, due to attachment to fruitive activity, philosophical speculation, or mystic yoga, he is given a chance to take birth in a high and rich family. The higher authorities appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead thus render justice to the living entity according to the living entity's desires. Although King Purañjana was overly absorbed in thoughts of his wife and thus became a woman, he took birth in the family of a king due to his previous pious activities. The conclusion is that all our activities taken into consideration before we are awarded another body. Narada Muni therefore advised Vyasadeva that one should take to Krishna consciousness, devotional service, and abandon all ordinary occupational duties. This advice was also given by Lord Krishna himself. Although a devotee may fall from the path of spiritual consciousness, he will nonetheless attain a human body in the home of a devotee or a rich man. In this way, one can resume his devotional service. Text 29. Paye me viryapanam vaidharbim halayad vaja yudhi nirjitya rajanyan panjapara puranjaya. It was fixed that Vaidarbhi, daughter of King Vidarbha, was to be married to a very powerful man, Malaya Dvaja, an inhabitant of the Pandu country. After conquering other princes, he married the daughter of King Vidarbha. Purport. It is customary among Kshatriyas for a princess to be offered under certain conditions. For instance, Draupadi was offered a marriage to one who could pierce a fish with an arrow simply by seeing the reflection of that fish. Krishna married one of his queens after conquering 7 strong bulls. The Vedic system is for a daughter of a king to be offered under certain conditions. Vaidarbhi, the daughter of Vidarbha, was offered to a great devotee and powerful king. Since King Malaya Dvaja was both a powerful king and a great devotee, he fulfilled all the requirements. The name Malaya Dvaja signifies a great devotee who stands as firm as Malaya Hill, and through his propaganda makes other devotees similarly as firm. Such a Mahabhagavat can prevail over the opinions of all others. A strong devotee makes propaganda against all other spiritual conceptions, namely Jnana, Karma, and Yoga. With his devotional flag unfurled, he always stands fast to conquer other conceptions of transcendental realization. Wherever there is an argument between a devotee and a non-devotee, the pure, strong devotee comes out victorious. The word Pandya comes from the word Panda, meaning knowledge. Unless one is highly learned, he cannot conquer non-devotional conceptions. The word Para means transcendental, and Pura means city. The word Parapura is Vaikuntha, the kingdom of God. And yet the word Jai refers to one who can conquer. This means that a pure devotee who is strong in devotional service and who has conquered all non-devotional conceptions can also conquer the kingdom of God. In other words, one can conquer the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha, only by rendering devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Ajit, meaning that one can conquer him, meaning that no one can conquer him. But a devotee, by strong devotional service and sincere attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can easily conquer him. Lord Krishna is fear personified for everyone, but he voluntarily agreed to fear the stick of Mother Yashoda. Krishna, God, cannot be conquered by anyone but his devotee. Such a devotee kindly married the daughter of King Vidarbha. Text 30. Tasyam sajanayam chakra atmajam ashitekshanam yaviyasa shapta sutan sapta dravida bhubrata. King Malayadvaja fathered one daughter who had very black eyes. He also had 7 sons who later became rulers of that tract of land known as Dravida. Thus there were 7 kings in that land. Purport. King Malayadvaja was a great devotee, and after he married the daughter of King Vidarbha, he gave her one nice daughter whose eyes were black. Figuratively, this means that the daughter of King Malayadvaja was also bestowed with devotional service, for her eyes were always fixed on Krishna. A devotee has no vision in his life other than Krishna. The 7 sons are the 7 processes of devotional service: hearing, chanting, remembering, offering worship, offering prayers, rendering transcendental loving service, and serving the lotus feet. Of the 9 types of devotional service, only 7 were immediately given. The balance, friendship, and surrendering everything, were to be developed later. In other words, devotional service is divided into 2 categories, namely Vidyamarg and Ragamarg. The process of becoming friends with the Lord and sacrificing everything for Him belongs to the category of Ragamarg, the stage of developed devotional service. For the neophyte, the important processes are those of hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, remembering Krishna, worshipping the deity in the temple, offering prayers, always engaging in service of the Lord, and worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. The word yaviyasa indicates that these processes are very powerful. After a devotee engages in the processes of Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, and is able to secure these processes, he can later become a devotee capable of rendering spontaneous devotional service, namely Sakyam and Atmanivedanam. Generally, the great acharyas who preach devotional service all over the world belong to the category of Sakyam and Atmanivedanam. A neophyte devotee cannot actually become a preacher. The neophyte is advised to execute devotional service in the 7 other fields, Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc. If one can successfully execute the primary 7 items, he can in the future be situated on the platform of Sakyam Atmanivedanam. The specific mention of Dravida Desha refers to the 5 Dravida Deshas in South India, all very strong in rendering the preliminary devotional processes, Shravanam, Kirtanam. Some great acharyas like Ramanujacharya and Madhavacharya also came from Dravida Desha and became great preachers. They were all situated on the platform of Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 31 on Wednesday. Jai. Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Guru Dev, Srila Acharya Dev Ki Jai. Jai Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari 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 Bol. Jai Shrimati Uma Devi Dasi Ki Jai.
Jai Gurudev.
Hari Bol.
Sripad Krishna Keshav Prabhu Ji Ki Jai.
Dhanavad Stiri.
Hello, Prabhupada.